and let us all do we can to build a better future.
I'm going to have to bring up the Young Turks. I know how a lot of you feel about the Young Turks. I know how a lot of you feel about them being a media organization and so much more. But they made an oopsies. A serious oopsies. And everyone's kind of talking about this. Happened yesterday where Anna Kasparian apologized for screwing up royally. I'll be playing the video first just so that all of you can see the apology. But again, it really does call into question of who's an authoritative source, who could be trusted. And again, look, it's important to apologize. And yes, we here at Hardlands Media, everyone has their own biases, but you cannot let that cloud your judgment. For example, we're going to be covering the Democratic Convention. No, I'm not going to vote Democrat, but I mean, look, it's going to be a big newsworthy event that's going to be happening here in the city of Chicago in 2024. And occasionally, yes, we have acknowledged when a Republican or Democratic lawmaker does the right thing, theoretically, or might make a statement. Then again, politicians never have follow through. But it's always important to look at every single perspective of a story. And you cannot let derangement syndrome, be it Trump derangement syndrome or anything else, cloud your judgment. And so Anna makes an apology. I want to share it with all of you.
I want to correct all of those errors that we had previously reported. And I want to be clear that out of everyone who works on the main show, the only person who should be held responsible for that is me. I'm the executive producer of the show, and I screwed up royally. And part of the reason why I screwed up is because I had all these biases, of course, against Ron DeSantis. And I don't really feel bad about that because I think
Look, there's a lot of politicians I don't like either. But I have to look at every single perspective. Just point of reference. Way back when Hardlands Media was on the radio, and we just finished our first documentary, Toxic Tour. We finished in 2018. Rahm Emanuel's still mayor, and we did a relating story the following Saturday after we were covering about the Toxic Tour and talking about it. And Rahm Emanuel, now again, whether there's any follow through on it, I could say arguably, kind of, sort of, maybe did a right thing, and that is hold U.S. Steel accountable for polluting Lake Michigan. Now, again, words and that's it. But look, not a fan of Rahm Emanuel, but he did something sort of kind of right. Of course, I did acknowledge in that segment that, hey, follow through is key. Do I think Rahm Emanuel will do it? No. And is Lake Michigan still being polluted by all these industrial facilities? The answer is yes. Yes, they are. So, again, you can't let your biases, especially when you're doing something like this, get the better of you. You can't. You have to look at every single side of a story. It's okay not to like a politician. Hell, it's okay to not like an ideology. But it's important that when you're up here speaking into the microphone, you present the facts as best as you can to the best of your ability. That's what you have to do. It's journalism 101. And the fact that I got to say that to Anna says a lot.
Ron DeSantis has done some pretty terrible things in the state of Florida, but it becomes a problem when that bias blinds you to what the facts of various stories happen to be. And I should have done my due diligence. I failed to do so. And by failing to do so, I feel like I've misled the audience into thinking that Rebekah Jones is some sort of hero. Now, to be fair to myself and to be fair to other independent media sources, if you're not doing your own original reporting, you're relying on the mainstream media narrative a lot of the time. And if they're not doing their due diligence, if they're allowing their personal biases to stand in the way of actual factual reporting, well, that's unfortunately going to trickle into the way independent news sources cover these types of stories as well. Fact of the matter is, I want to make sure that I correct my errors, I get you guys accurate information, and I avoid helping someone who might be a grifter from fundraising off of our own audience members.
I like how they use the term grifter. It's not like how they used it before, smearing other independent journalists and commentators who are calling out the Democratic establishment. Now, the thing is, when you let something get the better of you, when you let a story or either that, a politician blind you because you just don't like them, it is a perfect recipe for disaster. So, what exactly is she talking about? Well, it's in regards to this individual named Rebekah Jones, who made false claims against the Florida governor. So I want to share this with all of you so you have an idea about what it's about. Now, look, yes, this is corporate media, but the thing is, the job of all of us, especially when we are going to cite something from the establishment media, is, of course, you have to look through the biases. CNN, MSNBC, neoliberal, Fox News, neoconservative. They're going to have their little twists and turns. And of course, Fox News, they're going to have their little jab at the quote unquote biggest progressive network on social media. So the Young Turks co-host Anna Kasparian apologized to her far left audience, if there are any left there, overnight for giving airtime to discredited Democratic activist and Ron DeSantis critic Rebekah Jones. The only person that should have been held responsible for that is me. I'm the executive producer of the show, and I screwed up royally. Jones is a former Florida Department of Health data analyst who received widespread media attention during the COVID-19 pandemic, which accused the DeSantis administration of urging her to alter the state's coronavirus data. A state inspector general later determined her claims to be false. More recently, Democratic activists falsely accused Governor DeSantis of ordering her son's arrest. All right, now, here's the thing. I think we all remember 2020 and the madness and insanity that was taking place. And of course, this was all happening under the Trump administration as well. The thing is, so much of what was being spewed by the Democratic Party and the Republican Party during that year was crippling to the American people. The RNC and DNC each having their own narrative. The Democrats pretending to care. The Republican Party going along as business as usual. They're still making a profit. All the while, the American people were suffering under the lockdowns, lack of income, and of course, a mass panic that was happening during that year. And I think it was very easy for individuals who wanted to build a name for themselves to go after key ranking politicians, especially in the Republican Party. Because let's face it, if you want to make a name for yourself, go after the GOP, pretend to be a hero and activist, and then start grifting. Because let's face it, Trump is an easy Saturday morning cartoon villain for the Democratic establishment. And of course, the vote blue no matter who and social justice warrior industrial complex. Now, the reason why I am calling out at least the neoliberals and the Democrats for this is because they have had numerous opportunities to do the right thing, to break away from the two-party system. But all that time, especially under Trump, they started to make a name for themselves and start to make a little bit of a moolah and a big social media following and, of course, people boosting their egos. Look, it's easy to go after Republican lawmakers, okay? It's not low-hanging fruit. It's fruit that's on the ground that's rotten. I know what to expect from somebody like DeSantis or Trump or the entire Republican establishment. I know they're not going to fight for Medicare for all. I know they're not going to do any of these progressive policies that I like. I know they're not going to do it. But at least when they give me the middle finger, I could say, okay, they're being honest with me. Democrats and their sycophants, that's a whole other can of worms. So again, continuing on with the article, it's looking at where this entire landscape, this political landscape is heading towards. I think it's easy for all of us to get blinded by our biases. And we have to be better than that. We have to be smarter than that. We have to be self-aware of how we look at current key issues. And if there's something on social media that triggers you or a politician, take a step back, have a sip of tea, look at it carefully, and ascertain it. And the thing is, it's the whole thing with this show here, too. We present you guys with information and facts, but I know that all of you are capable and smart enough as you're heading to work, put some whiskey in your coffee, smoke a bowl, to make your own conclusions and your own decisions. That's what I expect from everybody. So interesting that TYT did an apology, but I do want to bring this up here. And again, it's a retweet from Max Blumenthal. Absolutely no reason for TYT to have immediately suspected that Rebekah Jones was a demented fabulist. Married Florida data scientist acts for refusing to alter COVID-19 status, was fired from a university job for having an affair with student and charged with stalking and threatening him with revenge porn. Can't say the name on YouTube. Writing a 342-page manifesto on their sex life. Hey, what?
I want to correct all.
And so Anna quickly had to apologize. There's a lot going on. Always see every side of a story as best you can.